10 reasons the law is not done away with. Before I get into the 10 reasons, I would like to say I am in no way saying that you must solely keep the law to get salvation, but you must believe in the Messiah, Yahushua HaMashiach, better known as Jesus Christ, in junction with keeping the commandments. Just like James says, faith is dead without works. With that being said, 10 reasons the law is not done away with. Number 10, breaking the law is the definition of sin. 1 John 3:4, for sin is the breaking of the law. Number 9, righteousness is described in scripture as keeping the law. Deuteronomy 6 verse 25 and Luke chapter 1 verse 6. Number 8, Israel is not done away with. Romans 11 verse 2. God has not cast away his people which he foreknew. Paul goes on in verse 14 and said to emulate Israel his brethren, emulate the people of his flesh. Verse 19 to 24 says the Gentile must be grafted into the olive tree, which is a reference to Israel. Jeremiah 11 verse 16 also describes Israel as being the olive tree. Number 7, Christ said, practice and obey whatever the Pharisees tell you to do, and don't follow their example, because they were hypocrites. That's Matthew chapter 23 verse 2 to 3. Number 6, John chapter 15 verse 10, Christ kept his Father's commandments. 1 Peter 2 chapter 22, Christ did not have any sin. Christ did not commit any sin. What is sin? Breaking of the commandments. Number 5, Jesus said, nothing will change from the law until everything is fulfilled. Acts chapter 1 verse 6, Christ still must fulfill that, as well as Isaiah 49 verse 6. Number 4, Christ's disciples still kept the Sabbath day after Christ's death and resurrection. They kept Pentecost. Pentecost is a feast day God commanded to be kept, which is mentioned in Leviticus chapter 23, as well as Pentecost is called the Feast of Weeks in Deuteronomy chapter 16 verse 10. Acts chapter 13 verse 42, the disciples is still being shown keeping the Sabbath day as well as the Gentiles. Number 3, no temple is needed to keep the commandments. In the time of Daniel, there was no temple because the temple was destroyed, and Daniel still kept God's commandments. That's Daniel chapter 1 verse 8. As well as Nehemiah was living in the days the temple was destroyed, but he still kept the commandments. Nehemiah chapter 1 verse 5. Number 2, the law is not bondage. Romans chapter 7 verse 12 says, the law is holy, just, and good. Paul also said we should not break God's law because we have faith through Jesus Christ. That's Romans 6 verse 1 and Romans 3 verse 31. And number 1, we should be like Christ. That's 1 John 2